As you see I do, and by about the third slide, someone else in the audience is finishing my sentences for me. I'm thinking, wow, how did this happen? So about 5 minutes into the discussion, Chief of Staff says, okay, it was about 5 slides, and the Chief of Staff said, fine, goes around the table and says, well, you see the recommendation. Any questions? Well, there's 1 or 2 questions, and then he says, okay, recommendation number 1, do you all agree we should establish a corporate data governance thing? Thumbs up around the board. I mean, 5 minutes worth of discussion with the chiefs of staff and undersecretary representatives of VHA, VBA, cemeteries, and you name it. I'm thinking, wow, this is really interesting. So you know, there's a lot of structural stuff going on and procedural stuff going on at the VA that leads me to believe we're going to be able to do a lot with enterprise architecture as a set of tools and techniques and practices if I take as evidence what I've just described to you. I think so from our perspective, I think where we are with this is really more learning in a practical sense how to make enterprise architecture practical, as I said, to fulfill the needs and expectations that a lot of people already have for it, rather than going out and selling its value to anybody. I think we, at the VA, we're way beyond having to sell its value to anybody. We just have to deliver now on a set of expectations. So I told you I'd talk a little bit more about enterprise architecture and organizational change management. So, and again, you know, basically up there at the upper end there is where we get the ROI, the mission improvement sort of measurements and considerations with respect to where our investments below are going to take us. But also, it's where all of the changes come from that are necessary to achieve, let's say, a veteran relationship management, let's say, which have nothing to do with a computer. I mean, yeah, master file is fine, but what about the procedures when a veteran calls in, or, you know, and the people to handle the incoming calls, or the email, or the snail mail? All those procedures and all that training has to be put in place as well, yes?
Yeah, I would think the basis of your VRM would be, you know, people are talking about automated patient records. You know, I guess my simple thought from listening to this discussion, and you're probably way ahead of me, is that you guys would have an automated veterans record, you know, and that would be the basis of all data.
Well, I'm gonna skip you all the agony of my flipping back to the last slide again, and now I've already forgotten the number. But when you get the list, look at not VRM, but look at the other one on there, which is VILA, the Virtual Lifetime Electronic Record, the Virtual Lifetime Electronic Record.
That's what, you know, all my stuff.
Okay, well, that's about 2 below VRM. 2 above, thank you. Yeah, someone was reading, wow. Okay, I think at this point I should quit. You all should go have cocktails. See, this is happening again. They're finishing my sentences for me. How does this happen? This is great. Wow. Somebody, question.
Oh, we were saying it's number 4 on the list. It was number 4.
Oh, number 4. Oh, thank you so much. So Virtual Lifetime Electronic Record. It's the data broker. Could wind up being a SOA harness or whatever it winds up being on top of existing stuff, so it allows the existing stuff to act in a more synthetic manner from the the perspective of a user, right? And it also creates a migration pathway from current existing stuff to new stuff, presumably under that SOA harness, and with that SOA harness then underneath the VRM, let's call it veteran-facing layer, presentation layer. It's more than a presentation layer, but anyway, on top of it. So that's exactly where we're going with VELR. And that does create an interesting construct with respect to the electronic health record, because now with the electronic person record, right, the health record really becomes a subset of the person attributes. So now we have to start working through and thinking, well, now exactly how do we fit the notion of an electronic health record into this larger construct of a virtual lifetime electronic record? Also, those of you who have case management backgrounds and or those of you who are veterans or have friends who are veterans understand that for veterans to return from service to become fully engaged as productive members of society, as productive and valuable family members, et cetera, there's a lot more to that than prescribing some pills to them, right? One has to address the full psychosocial needs of a returning service member, of which health is a sliver. Very important sliver, but a sliver. So the approach we're taking with VELR is to collect all the data there, and that, notice, is not the virtual lifetime health record. It's the virtual lifetime record. Virtual lifetime electronic record. Health is a subset. It's that full spectrum set of attributes to describe health and full psychosocial attributes of a veteran with respect to making available to the VA and to the veteran, for that matter, and to case managers and to the government of the state of West Virginia and whoever else needs it, to fully address all aspects of a service member or veteran's life, to reinsert them back into society, to become fully productive members of citizens of the United States after they've been off somewhere else shooting people for a living. So it's all that, or being shot at.
Yeah, just going back to the previous session in this room about Privacy Act, if that virtual lifetime electronic record
VELER
is a mother lode for identity theft then. I mean, you could completely impersonate somebody with that record.
That's right.
So, meaning that you got to have a Fort Knox around that kind of information.
That's right. And I don't know, I hope you don't think this is a stretch, but I think the VA is in as far as one can go with respect to transparency and cybersecurity, given that there's a balance there. You know, you can't reveal your vulnerabilities. I mean, right? So given that balance, I think VA has been very forthcoming with respect to what our cybersecurity successes and failures are. We report that quite broadly, at least outcome-wise, and when we have breaches and all that kind of stuff. We are putting a lot of emphasis on that, obviously internal to the department, commensurate with our external representations. However, I would like to add one thing to that, and one of the areas where I think, to me, the cybersecurity world, and by the way, cybersecurity is one of the more robust parts of our architecture as well. They're the group that has done the most work in that entire spectrum there, internal to the VA. However, that's information assurance. And while earlier today, the speaker, I think in your session, that's the lady over there with the blonde hair, yes. I think it came up in your session, or maybe it was the one after, I don't remember. But one of the two sessions, and I know the privacy session came after that. But anyway, one of the two was, again, this notion of protection of information. Well, what I don't hear talked about enough is assuring the proper delivery of information. So in other words, how can we move cybersecurity from perimeter to defense to information assurance, to assure that only the right information is delivered to only the right people at only the right time, rather than none of the information is delivered to the wrong people. It's a big difference. And this just conversation earlier about veteran relationship management. Well, yeah, we've had some breaches, and we've reported them. And quite frankly, and we do credit monitoring and all that kind of stuff when there's a breach. I don't know, at least it's not become evident to me, that we've had any major, other than the breach itself, any major adverse consequence as a result of the breach, that any large number of identities have been stolen or anything. However, with respect to veterans calling in every day and trying to find out what the status of their claim is, or re-answering questions on day 2 that they just answered on day 1, that happens every day in the thousands. So here we are looking at a data assurance problem happening in the thousands, where we are crippling ourselves with respect to giving service against this I don't want to say quite theoretical or hypothetical, but this ethereal information protection thing over here, which we're all seem to be very worried about, when the 500-pound gorilla in the room is we can't deliver service. So somehow or other, to me, the bridge there for the cybersecurity world is to move from information protection and perimeter defense, keep the bad guys out, to information assurance, where we are sure the right people get the right information at the right time to do the job. But only the right people get the right information to do the job. It's a huge, so with respect to doctors in clinic, for example. Finally, I heard